Hi, I'm Jim McGuigan. Several of you have asked over the last couple of years why a yank would have made a couple of videos on how to fix a hurl and why a hurl should be fixed anyway. Well, a couple things. First of all, Hurleys aren't easily accessible here in the States. Well, they are at a price, I guess. But who wants to pay $50 just because you broke or chipped a hurl, if you can be fixed so that it's like new? I'm not going to tell you that the only way that I do it is going to be the best way, but it's the best way that I know. I know that several of you have used other types of products to do it. Maybe some of you have used things like super glue. Some of you have used some of the epoxies out there. Some of you have even used carpenter's glue. But the one that I find the most effective is going to be a two-part epoxy. And what this does is you take this and you put it onto a sheet or a piece of cardboard typically, and you mix it up with a couple of sticks, and then you smear it on the part of the hurl that needs to be fixed. Now I'm going to talk about a couple of different ways that hurls have been fixed. I'm going to show you probably one of the most egregious, horrible fixes that I've ever seen in my life. Now, I'll tell you, on a recent trip to Ireland, a nice old gentleman insisted that I bring back this stick. It was one that he'd fixed, and he appears to have taken part of a can, and the well-meaning gentleman took this and he nailed it over the brake as though to create a splice. Well, this is not a stick I'd ever consider taking on a field, but God bless him for trying, and I appreciate the fact that he was thinking of us. But one of the things that I wanted to show you here was the 3 sticks that I used in the years that I played hurling. Now, these are the years that my club, the Milwaukee Hurling Club, which is one of the largest clubs in the world, managed to really grow significantly. And we grew because of many reasons. Because of our inclusion was one of them. But I was always a full forward, and one of my favorite sticks was the Burke. And this is a Burke. Now, I'll tell you, one thing about these sticks is that it was a great piece for a full forward. These things are like war clubs. But if you look closely, you'll see that all of my sticks always had a couple of areas where they were repaired. And some of those repairs are a little more obvious, and some a little less obvious. But one thing that is consistent among all of the repairs in the sticks that I've made is that they don't break down. This isn't ever a break that you're going to find has to be redone again. It may break in another part of the stick, but it's not going to break where I've repaired it. Now, I appreciate the fact that many people have used some of the other products out in the market. And yes, I've seen that black stuff that people use to repair windshields. I've seen people use biscuits and other products and wood glues and Gorilla Glue and all sorts of different products to try and pull together a hurl. But there's nothing like epoxy. I use the super epoxy. I think that most two-part epoxies, and I have to imagine that you can get this in Ireland as well, but most two-part epoxies that are this color, the kind of light grayish or bluish, and the yellow on the other side, are probably going to give you just about the same binding effect. Now, after the hurls have been put together and bound with the clamps, one of the things that you'll notice is that the glue or the epoxy has kind of squeezed out. What I would recommend for this is simply to take a knife and to just trim that right off. Just take it right off just like that. And then just use a light sandpaper. Now, I'll tell you, this is one that my son had when he was over in Ireland and playing several of the Irish kids. And if you look real close, some of you may recognize that signature. Yeah, I kind of wish that he wouldn't have been playing with it after he got the signature either. But after he got Joe Canning's signature, he went ahead and used it again, and well, it broke. But it's a hurl that can be repaired, and it can be made pretty much as good as new. Now, I also have this other stick out here because, well, for one reason, to help my Irish friends understand that it wasn't always possible to get hurls in the States, especially the ones for the younger lads. So about 16 years ago, when my son saw me playing, he wanted to play hurling as well. So I made him one. I'm not going to tell you that this is my finest achievement, but it probably is the hurl that I'm the most proud of, because this was my son's first hurl. And when he was in Ireland on a trip with the Milwaukee Hurling Club, there was a group of parents that were getting together in the stands, and some of the parents said, "Oh boy, they shouldn't have put the ringer in. He'll make the Americans not so happy, and they won't want to continue the sport." Well, that ringer was my son. And although this piece of pine, which isn't very large at all, may have been his first hurl because it was the only one that was available, because I made it. And it's not perfect by any means, as you can see by the fairly ridiculous grains on the toe. This is probably the one that I'm most proud of. And that's why, that's pride in our children and our families and our cultures and our community is why the Milwaukee Hurling Club has grown to be one of the strongest clubs in the entire world. Now, I hope you've enjoyed these videos, and remember again, I'm not criticizing other people's procedures or other people's ways of putting together a hurl or fixing a hurl, and if you have a better way, I would encourage you to use it. All I'm saying is that this way, these fixes are fixes where you're never going to have to replace a hurl in the same place. Now, again, there have been breaks in my hurls that I've had, and then I've ended up breaking them in other places, but I've never had a hurl break in the same place twice. And I hope that you have as much luck in repairing your hurls as I've had. Good luck. Slasha.